What's up, Pentaxians? This time we're going to be looking at the design that's so sublime in this day and time. Okay, I'm going to stop with the rhyme. Oh, jeez. Okay. We're going to take a look at the PENTAX K-3 Mark I versus the PENTAX K-3 Mark III in regards to exterior design. It's something I've always had an interest in regards to design. I like looking at fine details and things like that. So it's going to be pretty in-depth. We're just going to take a look basically at the exterior design, the changes, what's new, the differences in the layout, the buttons, ergonomics, all that fun stuff. And yeah, so since it'll be a little in-depth, let's just stop rambling and get on with it. Okay, let's take a look starting with the grip side of the camera. Now, what you're seeing here is the K-3 Mark I, and you'll notice just right here where the SD card door is, it's just got a little tiny divot here with a little square, and yeah, never mind my thumbnail. But it's not, it doesn't really accommodate the size of a thumb, so to speak. Maybe a finger, barely, but it's not very deep. These grooves here aren't very deep, and you can still open the door, but it's not very deep. And keep also note here of the grip size at the very bottom of the camera. And now let's move over to the K-3 Mark III. And you'll notice that the grip on the K-3 Mark III is ever so slightly more narrow. Sorry, not as deep. And looking at the SD card door, this is a lot deeper. It's got a nice round cutout right here, and these protrude more, so it's easier to actually be able to grip this in order to open the door in comparison to the one on the K-3 Mark I. Now, another thing too is, I know they made a big deal about this, but it does make a difference. The shape of the actual grip for the finger. This one, it's cut out more along the side on the K-3 Mark I. So they've cut it out more over here instead of giving it a nice beveled cut in here. Now, compared to the K-3 Mark III, you'll see it's a different shape. This is sticking out more, and there's also more of a lip here. So it is more comfortable just resting right there with the finger. There's a better angle that you can actually see here. This is more of like a smooth cut, but then once you get to the inside, it's basically just straight back. A little hard to see here, but yeah, it just goes straight back right into the body. Versus the Mark III, where you can see it actually has a shape along here as well. So this does accommodate a variety of different finger sizes in regards to comfort in comparison to just a straight cut. And there isn't a whole lot of space here either. Like my fingers stuck. There we go. Versus here, see, my finger right here is only getting caught right at the very, very top. So this is a lot nicer, more ergonomic. Let's see. Now let's move on to the shape of the prism area. So on the K-3 Mark I, it's just pretty flat. Nothing else to say. It's just pretty flat. Obviously this does accommodate a flash. However, the K-3 Mark II, it's pretty much the same prism housing design. Just flat, straightforward, nothing special. And here you've got a variety of different shapes. You've got this large section here, and then you've got another classic shape of the Prism along here, and then the sharp angle, and looking at the size difference between how they both protrude. Let's get that in the right location. This is a lot more compact. Doesn't stick out as far. So, interesting design choices. They had stated they wanted to make it more sporty. To me, the sportiest camera that they made actually is the K-3. Some people didn't like it, but others did. And you can see here how the K-3 Mark I, the Prism housing, it does stick out further. You can even see on this angle here, it's already starting to lean forward, versus the Mark III, where it's almost the same size as just the camera body itself. Now on to the button side. So on the K-3 Mark I, you've got your autofocus, manual focus dial here, which has also been slightly revamped on the K-3 Mark III. You have your autofocus mode button, and you have your raw FX button and the PC sync port, and then of course up here, the pop-up of the internal flash. Now on the K-3 Mark III, that's changed. And actually, before I get into that, here is the microphone input for when you're shooting video. Oops, get that down there. There we go. So you've got your microphone input there for shooting video, and you've got your HDMI, USB 3, and your input for charging, DC 8.3 volts. Now on the K-3 Mark III, you have the autofocus switch. As I said, it is designed slightly differently. If you look at the bottom, kind of hard to actually see that. Just these little pieces at the very, very bottom here. Seems to be larger on the K-3 Mark I. It's a bit more compact on the K-3 Mark III. It still works perfectly fine. And then you have your autofocus mode. Now, this has a nice cutout to it. So when you are holding the camera, you can just go by feel and know which button that is compared to here. It's not quite cut out the same. It doesn't have that smooth edge right along here. Right? And on this side as well, for the other side of pseudo grip, has this protruding piece here, which I guess can help guide you to the raw button. However, that is not on the K-3 Mark III at all. It just gives you a bit more room, for whatever reason. And you also have a dedicated shake reduction button, because on the K-3 Mark I, by default, in order to change shake reduction options, you have to turn it on, go into the menu, go down to shake reduction, select it, and then turn off or turn on. Whereas on the K-3 Mark III, you have a dedicated shake reduction button. So it doesn't matter what mode you're in. Once you press the shake reduction button, take a look at the menu at the top over here. That's shake reduction on, panning mode, and off. And that's it. It's that simple. And it also shows up here on the display. On, pan, off. And that's it. So again, a lot more thought went into the K-3 Mark III in regards to revamping everything. And over here we've got, on the one door, we have got mic and headphone ports. And on the back side, we've got our HDMI and our USB 3.0 Now let's move on to the actual mode dial. So take a very, very good look at the mode dial here. Just take a look at the height. And another thing I actually just noticed here as well is the lock button. This lock switch here. Completely different design. Just has a large divot right in the center. And now let's take a look at the dial. You can see the size difference between these two dials. The K3 Mark III's dial is taller. There's only 3 sections along. Oh, come on. Only 3 sections of nubs on here. And the design of the lock switch here is different as well. With this lock switch, it's smaller. It's not quite as large as the one on the K3 Mark III. And on the back of the K3 Mark I, you have, let's see, you've got your play button for playback, you've got delete, your exposure metering, your live view button, the rear E dial, green button, your movie, stills recording, you've got your drive mode, the custom image, flash settings, and white balance. So just press up and then you can change the parameters of your drive modes. You've got your custom image parameters, your white balance, and your flash settings. Now if you want to change the autofocus, you have to press and hold. There's a little button here, and then now you can move the focus point around. The only problem with that though is, say you wanted to now quickly change one of these parameters, you can't. You have to press and hold again, and now you can change whichever parameters you need. If you want to change that back, you have to go in, press OK, click out again. Whoops, and I changed the white balance. Let me go back. There we go. So, I mean, it's different. It works. And you've got your live view and your movie recording. Right? So, I mean, it works. It's just a totally different layout. You've got your back button focus here and your exposure, auto exposure lock button right at the very, very corner here, just where the camera starts to bend away from your thumb, so to speak. And if you look at the grip on this side, you can see it just barely protrudes out right here, just slightly. So it's got a little cutout or a little divot here, barely, for your thumb, which is fine. However, once we bring in the K3 Mark III, let's get this out of the way first. You can see the huge difference here with the grip. This is a lot more solid to hold on to. And on the back of the K3 Mark III, we've got the lock button. And as I said in another video, you can customize these buttons to be whatever you want. So you could actually have the same layout as the K3 Mark I. But anyway, you've got your lock button, your delete button, slash exposure metering, got your play button, rear autofocus button, exposure lock button, which isn't quite as far off to the side as the K3 Mark I. Got your joystick control, green button, white balance, drive mode, custom image, display, the rear display setting here for brightness, your outdoor view setting. There we go. Let's make it dark. And you got your info and menu. Now, here's where the K3 Mark III comes into play. Well, the drive modes are different. You now actually have to go into another menu to change. These are for the timers. Or, whoops, drive mode. And then you have another option for all the other drive modes. So it's just a different way to access the same thing. I think it is it takes a little bit longer, I think, on the K3 Mark III, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. At first, I was very confused about how this all works, but now I've actually gotten used to it. It's actually not too bad. Oh, what was I going to show? Oh, yes, changing the autofocus points. So you no longer have to press another button in order to access changing autofocus points if you're using select. As you can see, I'm just using the joystick, moving it around, and I have all the drive mode parameters. Everything's fine, right? And then if I want to just set it back, just press the joystick in, and it goes right back to the center again. So that is what I feel that's an improvement. And obviously there is no live view button. There's no movie mode button or switch on the back here. That is all done from here. So let's switch that over to live view. You got your live view and go into your movie recording. Now you'll notice it doesn't actually display movie on the back because it's in that mode on this dial. So it's not that, I don't know. I don't see a big deal with using the dial there. It seems to be fine. I have no issues with it. Okay, so you've got your drive mode, your exposure settings, the metering, battery level, how many shots are left on the card. You know, the ISO, which right now is in auto. So, I mean, it is a larger display, so there is more to display. However, on the very top, you only have the drive mode button over here. You've got 3 custom user settings. However, with the custom user modes, let's just show here. Unlock this. So as you can see, when you switch to anything you've programmed and put a name in, it actually shows the name of the autofocus, or sorry, the custom user mode that you have actually set with all the parameters that you've set as well. Why that's missing on the K3 Mark III, I have no idea. Not a clue. So let's bring the K3 Mark III over here. Actually, wonder if I can actually show. Yeah, so now you can see the depth of the grip. That's the K3 Mark III. And there's the K3 Mark I. So as you can see, I mean, it's got this thing here. I mean, the grip's just not quite perfect on the K3 Mark I. K3 Mark III, I mean, the grip is just, if you haven't held one, you need to. It's a really, really nice grip. But anyway, enough about the grip. So on the K3 Mark III, and I'm trying to get this to focus here. Here we go. Okay, so it is a smaller display. You do have the ISO setting. You've got the aperture, shutter speed, and here's where the problems start. You see the battery level, the exposure level, but the display is so small, like it's just difficult to really make it out at first glance. What is that at the end there? Hold on, let me light this up. So autofocus mode 1, you know, and that's the other issue. So let me show you here. On the mode dial here, before I forget, you've got 5 user modes. The camera does store a total of 10. However, the problem is when you go into actually use one of your user modes, all that shows up is U1, like whatever number you're in. So U1, U2, U3, U4, U5. It does not display the name. I know there's a trick. You can go in and use the control panel back here but then you have to go into where your user mode, recall user mode setting, action, black and white, and but I mean, this is not really, I mean, this is cumbersome doing it this way. It really, it shouldn't be this way. There's no point in having a mode dial if you can't, that you can store custom user settings if you can't see what the user name for that setting actually is, right? How are you supposed to remember U1, 2, 3, 4, 5? But anyway, in regards to the external design, yeah, they've literally revamped everything. Everything. You've got more direct controls here, got the smart function there, ISO, exposure compensation, which is the same here. ISO, exposure compensation. The buttons are actually different. The buttons are larger on the K3 Mark III. So altogether, I mean, they've literally changed the entire camera. I think the only thing that they kept are these dials here. Actually, I think they may have changed those too. I think they may have changed it. These might be the same though. I think that's the only thing that they actually retained. I mean, a couple of things in regards to the font they may have kept as well. But other than that, I mean, it's a completely different camera from the ground up. The PENTAX K3 Mark III. It's like that meal that you decide you're going to cook for yourself. You put a lot of thought, you get all the right ingredients, you put in all the right ingredients, the meal comes out, you've made it with love. And for you, it's such an exquisite meal. It's something you're going to remember for a very long time. No, it's not Michelin star rated, but that's not the point. The point is the amount of effort you put in to get everything just right. The meal is good in parts and excels in others. And that is the premise of the K3 Mark III. Is it the epitome of APS-C size DSLR design? If it's not, it's extremely close. It fits like a glove. The ergonomics are absolutely phenomenal. The handling is great. It's extremely responsive. And overall, the PENTAX K3 Mark III really is the sum of all its parts entirely. It's good in parts and better in others. Thanks for watching.